Hi, I'm Sandy Schroeck, and today we're going to talk about using the Fitz Corsage glue. Yes, is it a little different? Most definitely. A little bit thicker and doesn't dry quite as fast, or doesn't dry very fast at all actually. So it's different, but it still does hold and doesn't damage the flowers or the foliages. Here you can see I just made a corsage into a bow, and we're going to show you the demo on this. This was made 2 days ago, put in the cooler, and I don't see any burning on any of the flowers, materials, or foliages. And so I'm just using a little bit of U-glue to be able to attach that. And so you can see that I am demonstrating that the flowers are going to hold in the corsage, and it's going to be something that you're going to be able to use. Here's another one that I glued into the bow, and this one I just glued into a wire flower, a bullion flower, but it does need to be made essentially on a table, a flat surface, and allowed about a half hour to dry before it's going to be stable enough to be able to be used. And so we have a variety of materials here today. I have some alstroemeria, some stock, spray roses. I do like to use some of the blooming plants as well. So I've got begonia and calendiva that we grow here at Len Bush. I like the Israeli ruscus, and a little bit of textural difference coming in with the hypericum. So we're just going to start off with the U-glue strip. I'm going to pull off one side of this, and I always glue into some sort of structure. So you could make a bow, and I'm just going to go here, make a simple and quick bow, doing 3 loops back and forth, and just doing that half turn in the middle to be able to make sure that we've got the right side up. Cut that, and then I just simply tie that with itself and not have it stick to your U-glue, but I'm just going to go here and tie that, and then shape it, and then you can see, then you can press this right into the middle of the U-glue for a structure to glue into. Another way to do it, if you don't want it to have it to go into a ribbon, is to use bullion. And this is going to be a little bit hard to see, but I'm going to spread my fingers apart. My hands are quite large, so I even spread them apart. So if you have smaller hands, you're going to need to spread it apart a little bit further, but you go around about 10 to 15 times, just depending on how big a structure that you want. And then come in, pinch it together, and then just take the ends and wrap them around the middle. And that'll give you a structure like this. Then you can shape that into a flower-like structure. Cut off those ends, make sure you know where the ends are, that they're not going to poke into the wearer, and then separate some of those out, and you can just glue into that. So that's what I did on this one, is glued right in, and the bullion disappears. So if you want an alternative to ribbon, you can do that. So here I'm going to start with the Israeli ruscus leaves. I pull them off, lay them together. They're a little bit on the big side, and to even them out, I'm going to cut them here and just tap them into that U-glue right there. And then I'm going to come in and press my bow into the middle of that U-glue. And so that's the same here. I've got a smaller one, just did a half piece of U-glue. This one is adhering with a half piece of U-glue. So just depending on the materials that you're going to put in, that you're going to add that much glue. And so I got a couple begonia blooms here and some of the calendiva. I use a gluing pad to be able to make sure that I don't get glue on the table. So I'm just preparing all the different floral materials that are going to go into here, laying them on that gluing pad, and then coming in and be ready to glue them together. And then just a couple little astros. So I like to have that variety of materials. So you kind of got more the feathery astro, the fluffy begonias. And so now we're going to come in with the glue. And so it's a clear glue. We come in, it is a metal tube as well, but you want to be soft on the touch of squeezing that so it doesn't keep coming out. But we're going to come in and put a decent amount on the flower. So it's a little bit thicker, so it doesn't quite come off as well. But if you just prepare all your flowers, that'll give it a little bit of time to set up. And then you won't be able to use, I know a lot of people are using those different stand things where they put the wristlet on and then are, putting the flowers on and or holding into your hand. This glue is going to have to be used on a flat surface, and it just takes time to dry. So I am laying these materials together and going into that structure of the bow that will allow me to have something for the glue to adhere to. And so it could be the bow or into the wire structure, but just coming in and putting a decent amount of glue on here. We've had some people return it because they say it doesn't stick. Well, it doesn't stick as fast as the other one, and you do have to put a decent amount on to be able to get it to land in there and adhere. And then just know that it takes about a half hour for it to dry. So you're going to need to let it lay on the table. I was experimenting the other night, and on some of the heavier one at 20 minutes, it still was kind of moving a little bit, but on the lighter weight one, after a half hour, or after 20 minutes, it was adhered. Now, whether it would have been safe to wear it, I don't know that I'd say that, but it was good enough to be able to, at that point I sprayed it down with a finishing spray. So using the Crowning Glory or finishing touch. Normally on corsage work I'll use Crowning Glory, and so I sprayed it down and then put it into the clear corsage box and put it into the cooler. And so here you can see an example of the different materials laid together and how that's going to come through. And if you go and move it now, you can see that they are still moving. And with the Oasis glue, it would have been more adhered at this point. But so it's different, but it still does work. So I want you to please, it's way better than taping and wiring, way less labor intensive. So give it a try, give it a shot. Make sure that you're allowing it to dry flat on the table, make them flat on the table, and that gives you the opportunity to be efficient and keep moving down the table. Get them out of your hands is a good practice anyway. So I'm Sandy Schroeck for Len Bush, and this has been the tutorial on using the Fitz glue.